In the late 1940s, those that had served in World War II, black and white alike, came back to a world still rife with segregation, anti-Semitism, and McCarthyism. Surprisingly, this was as true in Los Angeles as it was below the Mason-Dixon line. There were even two separate musicians' unions in town. The black local 767 was on Central Avenue and 17th Street. The white local 47 on Georgia near Figueroa in Hollywood proper. 5 miles, but still worlds apart. Blacks weren't welcome at local 47. In fact, there were very few blacks ever in Hollywood at that time. If you saw a black there in those days, they would either be going to or getting off work. Local 47 serviced the Hollywood studios, radio stations, recording studios, and the burgeoning TV networks. Local 767 had Central Avenue, the thriving heart of bebop and West Coast jazz. Nightclubs like Club Alabama, The Downbeat, and The Last Word. Jam sessions were happening all over town. Sessions were going on every night at Jack's Basket Room at 36th and Central. These sessions attracted the likes of Dexter Gordon, Charles Mingus, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Eric Dolphy, and many, many more. One of the leading lights of the Central Avenue scene was multi-instrumentalist Buddy Collette. Buddy had returned to Central Avenue after the war, having served in the Navy, for the most part in the Bay Area, playing in the regimental band, the marching band, and a Navy dance band called the Top Flighters, which played regularly at the Stage Door Canteen in San Francisco. However, even in wartime, those bands were strictly segregated. Musically innovative, the prospects for these Central Avenue musicians still looked bleak. If they did play the big theaters like the Orpheum or the $1 Million, it was in a black band or when an all-black show would be there. For other shows, if they needed 20 musicians, blacks wouldn't get the call at all, no matter how good a musician they were. The Central Avenue Union Hall was a tumble-down, ramshackle building. The floorboards would bounce in rhythm to any music being played as the foundation of the building had seen much better days. But it was a meeting hall, not a hiring hall, because no one was hiring. The usual crowd would gather at the Union Hall during the day and talk about what's what and what's not. Buddy Collette, Charles Mingus, Red Callender, Lester Young, Ben Webster, Teddy Edwards, Frank Morgan, Jackie Kelser, and Mal Young. There was a sense that the black musicians were not being taken seriously, and the conversation was about how to change that. There's some of us just can't read. You're hired to play other folks' music. That's what they're paying you for. If you can't read what's written, how are you going to know what to play? If we want to be taken seriously, let's play some serious music and invite all the white musicians along. Classical. A symphony orchestra. So, with a lot of effort, especially from Mingus and Milt Holland, the Community Symphony Orchestra was formed. The orchestra rehearsed at the Humanist Hall on 23rd and Union, an interracial orchestra playing the classics. There was a lot of enthusiasm. In no time at all, the rehearsal orchestra grew to 65 pieces. Word spread, the press showed up. World-renowned conductors would attend, and celebrities came to lend their support. Paul Robeson, Billie Holiday, Josephine Baker, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra. One Sunday, the orchestra rehearsed Bizet's Carmen, with Buddy Collette taking the difficult flute solo. After the solo, the orchestra stopped, and the mostly white string players tapped their bows on the music stands in applause and appreciation. Another step forward. As Buddy was leaving Humanist Hall, a man approached him. "Pretty good flute you're playing there." "Thank you." "I've got an opening coming up on the Groucho show. Too bad you don't play saxophone." "I do." That man was Jerry Fielding. Jerry Fielding had his own troubles with prejudice. A talented arranger and band leader, he'd interviewed successfully for musical director of the Jack Paar program, only to be told his then surname, Feldman, was a Jew name. They told me I was not going on with any name as Jewish as Feldman, so I chose the name Fielding. But I felt I owed it to my mother, Esther, to break the news. Out of respect, if nothing else. She then told me my real name was Joshua Itzhak Lisikoff, so not to worry. The job Jerry had offered Buddy Collette was on the Groucho Marx show, You Bet Your Life. The color bar was finally broken, and it was Jerry and Buddy that did it. Red Callender, the bass player, soon joined the house band, so Buddy was no longer the only black musician on the show or the network. However, this progress was not without its repercussions. Groucho's You Bet Your Life was a hugely popular show, and Groucho would use Buddy as part of his shtick, making Buddy a featured player. That did not go down well in some circles. Both Jerry Fielding and Groucho Marx received death threats, and Buddy got his share of hate mail. Some affiliates cancelled, but there was no stopping the momentum. The Community Symphony Orchestra was going from strength to strength, so someone suggested having a jam session for jazz, and get more people who aren't in tune with jazz to understand the music. So Monday night became classical night, and then Sunday afternoon for jazz. One of these afternoons, word spread that the legendary Josephine Baker was going to appear. There must have been 500 people there. Josephine took the stage and said, "I wonder why you have 2 unions. I think it should be 1. I don't know why you people are wasting time." Josephine looked down into the audience, and there were 2 little girls, one black, one white, both about 5 years old. "You and you, come up here." They both danced up on stage, where Josephine whispered to them. The 2 girls grabbed each other, hugged, and wouldn't let go. Josephine looked at the audience and winked. "These kids will show you how it's done," as she walked off stage. Jerry was really busy around this time. He was building a big band. He had a TV jazz band with Red Callender, Buddy Collette, and Gerald Wiggins, was musical director of the TV show The Life of Riley, in addition to the Groucho Marx gig. Each band had both black and white musicians. Until, almost inevitably, one evening during a Groucho show, the House of Un-American Activities Committee came a-calling. "Feldman! Feldman!" 2 big guys about 6'4" came in as the show was going on. They kept screaming, "Feldman!" Security intercepted them briefly. "We want Feldman over there." Finally, when the show went to break, Jerry got off the stand and walked over. The HUAC guys gave him a subpoena. One of the guys who had just served him whispered, "If you've got $200,000, we'll get you out of this." Jerry replied, "If I had 200,000, I wouldn't give a shit." Before Jerry appeared at the hearings, he called the band together and said, "Guys, here's the scene. I'm not a communist, they're just after people. If I talk, then I've got to say who I spent time with, and then they will have to go through all this again. The lawyers say that the only way is to take the 5th Amendment, otherwise they'll keep this thing going. They'll call another 50 people and another 50 people. I'm going to take the 5th, just so you understand. I expect they might just want me to name Groucho, but that's not going to happen." One of them said, "You mix black and white, you must be a red." Jerry was blacklisted. The realization of what this actually meant was lost on him initially. Not only was he unemployable, this he knew, but his records were no longer played on the radio. In fact, his records were taken off the shelves at all record stores across the country. Buddy and the other musicians helped as best they could, chipping in $20 a week each for 4 or 5 months, but eventually Jerry took off for Vegas. There he could at least find some work arranging, conducting occasionally, and ghostwriting. Jerry stayed in Vegas for about 4 or 5 years, and it wasn't until Betty Hutton demanded that Jerry join her team for a project at Desilu that Jerry got back in. Betty Hutton was a powerful lady at the time. Jerry Fielding's career as a film composer did not begin until 1962. Fellow blacklister Dalton Trumbo recommended Jerry to director Otto Preminger for his star-studded adaptation of the best-selling novel Advise and Consent. Ironically, the subject of the movie was the evil of blacklisting in Washington. Even though Buddy Collette did not see himself as political, he had witnessed the struggles of Jerry Fielding, Paul Robeson, and others firsthand. The ACLU were really struggling in the early 1950s, and Buddy would bring his band to fundraising events for them. After 3 years of running for office and losing, Buddy, Mal Young, and Bill Douglas became elected officials of Local 767 and opened protracted negotiations with Local 47. The two locals were finally amalgamated in 1953. Following the success of Advise and Consent, Jerry composed many film scores. Best known for his collaborations with Sam Peckinpah and Clint Eastwood, Jerry's credits include The Wild Bunch, Straw Dogs, Chato's Land, Junior Bonner, The Enforcer, The Outlaw Josie Wales, The Gauntlet, The Big Sleep, The Killer Elite, Escape from Alcatraz. Buddy Collette played on most of those soundtracks. Jerry was nominated for an Academy Award 3 times and won the Emmy in 1980. Jerry died of a heart attack aged 57 in 1980. Buddy Collette played with all the greats, but unlike his contemporaries who sought fame and fortune in New York, Buddy remained in Los Angeles to look after his family. His many albums include Call Carmen Collette, Flute Talk, Man of Many Parts, Nice Day, Tanganyika, The Polyhedric, Buddy Collette, Blood, Chet and Tears with Chet Baker. Buddy received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Federation of Musicians, Local 47. He died of heart failure at the age of 89 in 2010. There is something to helping people and being sincere. If you're able to hang in, making sure people get to know each other, to be the best they can and bounce off each other's talent, the opportunities are endless. So said Buddy Collette.